All right, so today's subject is the economy. The economy is in quite a bit of danger right now. It didn't used to be. At the beginning of January, it was doing really well. Inflation was going down, the stock markets were going up, bonds were holding, everything was hunky-dory. Well, the 20th came along, and then there was executive orders, and then there was tariffs, and now we have the big, beautiful bill. And between that and several other little Trump nuggets, the economy is in really, really big danger now. Before I go into exactly the dangers, we should first have a quick review of the three things that make the economy go, or three rings, if you will. The first ring is the ring of interest. The second is the ring of debt. The third, the ring of credit. These three rings drive the economy. But is that it? Is that all there is? Are these three rings our only hope? No, there is another. What is this mysterious other?
The other ring is the most powerful. It's the most precious. Sorry.
So that ring is the ring of confidence. The ring of confidence is what makes the entire thing actually work. But without the ring of confidence, nothing will hold together. The three rings, although not as powerful as the ring of confidence, can definitely hurt the ring of confidence. And a hurt ring of confidence hurts the economy. So, that primer I promised. Let's go over how the economy works in a quick nutshell. 2, the magic whiteboard. It all starts with Dave. Dave has a rock in his yard and it's really bothering him. He wants it gone. He is willing to pay me $10 to break up that rock and get it out of there. I think, great, $10. I could use $10. But what I need is a sledgehammer because I don't have a sledgehammer. Sledgehammers cost $5. I don't have $5. So, what am I going to do about that? I really want that job for the $10. All I need is $5. I need to borrow it. So I'm going to go to my friend Bob. Bob is a banker. So when I go to Bob, he's going to want to know why I want the $5. So I'll tell him, hey, Dave over here has this rock. He's going to pay me $10 to break it up. I need $5 for a sledgehammer. I'll be able to break up the rock. I'll have $5 left over. And Bob says, hey, great. That sounds like a good business model. That sounds like a good proposition. I have confidence in your plan. However, I need to charge you interest. Why does Bob need to charge interest? Because loaning money is a risk. Anything could happen when he gives me that $5. I could take it and I could leave. Dave could stiff me after I do the job. I could be injured and not finish the job. Many, many things could happen and I would not pay back Bob. So Bob has a right to be compensated for the risk he is undertaking by giving me his hard-earned $5. So Bob is going to charge me $2 interest. So in a week, I'm going to owe him $5 principal and $2 interest, which is $7. So Bob gives me the $5. I go buy the sledgehammer. I go break the rock for Dave. He gives me $10. I give Bob $7. I have $3 left over. And now I own a sledgehammer. So now I am in business. So the next rock I break, I get all the money. Business has started in the community. We have an economy. That's how the economy works. 5 minutes, less than 5 minutes, and now you understand the economy better than most people in America. But there's more to it than that, of course. What if I want to grow the economy? What if I want to expand my business? Well, here's how that works. Dave was so happy with how I broke his rock that he told 10 of his friends that also have rocks, what a great job I did. So all 10 of them called me and said, hey, Mike, come break our rocks. We'll pay you $10 each. That's great, I said. But you know, I can only break one rock per week. Now they understand I can't break them all at once, but nobody really wants to be the one that has to wait 10 weeks for a rock to be broken. So I've got two options. I can either A, break as many rocks as I can and just lose the customers that can't wait that long, or B, I can hire 3 guys to help me and we can attack all those rocks in a timely fashion. I'm going to go with B. So to hire 3 guys, I'm going to need 3 more sledgehammers. That's $15, $5 a sledgehammer. I don't have $15 on hand. I'm spending most of my money on, new shirts and stuff. So I'm going to go back to Bob, and Bob is going to ask me some questions, and I'm going to say, hey, look, I've got 10 guys lined up. All I need to do is hire a few guys and get 3 sledgehammers, and I can knock out all this extra business, and I'll have a full-on company. And Bob says, well, great, you have a good credit rating with me because you paid so quickly before, so I have confidence that I can lend you $15 and get my money back. We'll do it for the same rate, $2 for every $5. So if Bob is lending me $15, I will owe him $6 of interest, so $21 at the end of the first pay period. But I have to say to Bob, Bob, I can't break all of those rocks in 1 week. It's going to take me more than 1 week to come up with all the principal and interest. Bob says, no problem, but it'll still be $6 per week that you owe me for every week that you don't pay back the principal. So when the first week comes up, I can either pay him $21 or I can pay him $6 and still owe him $15. When the next week comes around, I can either pay him off at $21 or I can pay him $6 and kick the can down the road a little farther. So yeah, I'm going to do that. So I get the money, I buy the sledgehammers, I hire the guys, we go break some rocks. So they're all three of them break 1 rock a week. I break 1 rock a week. That's $10 for me, and the 3 of them, they get half the fee. So they each get $5, but I get $5 of their money. So I've got their $15, my $10. Now I've got $25. Now you might be saying, well, gee, Mike, you only owe him $21. But I have gotten used to the money that I've been earning lately. And sure, I was able to get my own $3 at one time, but now I'm spending about $10, $12 a week now. So I really don't want to cough up all 21 right now. So I'm going to go with that other plan. I've given him $6 now, and then next week or the week after, I'll pay the principal. Now, if I was smart, I wouldn't just pay him $6 each time. I'd pay him $6 and a couple of bucks to chip away at that principal to make the principal get smaller, so on and so forth. And eventually I could pay off that debt. But I don't have to. Bob is okay with me just paying the interest, and I'll owe him the $15 someday. But every week, $6. I'm making $19 every week. Yeah, I like that. $19 up from $10, I'm doing good. So that's what we're going to do. And that's all fine and good as long as nothing changes. But what happens if you start monkeying around with the credit rating, the interest, the debt, things like that? What could possibly go wrong? Let's find out. So, interest. What would happen if someone were to monkey around with interest? Well, let's go back to the beginning of the story. Let's say when Bob offers me the loan for $2 for every 5, I look at that and say, well, that's a little tight. I'm not sure about that because I'm going to get $10 from Dave. And if I pay you $7, Bob, that leaves me $3 left. That will cover my expenses for the week. But it'll just cover my expenses. So everything has to work out exactly right. I have to be able to get that rock broken in time to pay Bob in time to have $3 in time. And maybe I decide that's too tight. Maybe that just feels a little risky to me. Maybe I don't have enough confidence to make that deal. So I tell Bob, yeah, no, thanks, but no thanks. I'm just going to hold off and I'm going to do nothing. So nothing. I'm not earning money. Bob's not earning money. Dave's not getting his rock broken. Bob is interested in the economy of the community. So he decides to make a deal. He's going to drop that $2 interest rate by 50 cents and make it only $1.50. So Mike, I'm only going to charge you $1.50 for that $5. So at the end of the week, you're going to owe me $6.50, not $7. How about that? And I look at that and say, that gives me a little bit of elbow room. That gives me some breathing space. I feel more confident now. So yes, I will take that deal. I will take the $5. I will get the sledgehammer. I'll break the rock. I'll get the $10. I'll give you $6.50. I have $3.50 left. That makes me feel better. I have confidence. Cool. That's great. But what happens if Bob is emotional? Bob is excited. Bob panics when I don't take the $2 interest. And Bob is so concerned that instead of dropping it by 50 cents, he drops it to 50 cents. He takes a 75% cut in interest to get me on board. And I look at that and I say, well, damn. Of course, I'm going to take that deal. Shoot, only 50 cents? I can make some serious cash on this. In fact, you know what I need to do? I need to borrow $50 instead of $5 because it's so cheap. And I'm going to buy 5 sledgehammers and I'm going to hire some guys and I'm going to get some TV ads and I'm going to make a business out of this. And I'm going to make a big business right now. I'm going to jump ahead because I have so damn much confidence because that interest rate is so low. So that's what I do. I buy the 5 hammers and I go like gangbusters and I get ads on TV. Now the sledgehammer maker, he's like, whoa, what the hell? Interest rates went down and now my sales have gone up. I just sold 5 sledgehammers today. Someone else is going to come in tomorrow. I need to make more sledgehammers. Demand has gone up because interest rates have gone down. So I'm going to make more sledgehammers. I'm going to hire guys. And you know what I'm going to do? When demand goes up, what do you do when demand goes up? You raise the prices too. I'm going to make those sledgehammers $7 now because there's demand. And if there's demand, supply and demand, I got the supply, they got the demand, I'm going to make it $7. Now, Steve lives up the block from me. He sees my commercials about rock breaking and says, wow, rock breaking must be a hell of a business. Maybe I should get into that. I've never broken rocks before. I know nothing about business, but money is so cheap right now. I can borrow $5 for 50 cents. I should get in on that. So Steve borrows some money to go buy a sledgehammer, but remember, the sledgehammer has now gone up. So Steve has to borrow more to pay more to get the same damn sledgehammer. That, my friends, is what we call inflation. So now the same product costs more, which means the money is worth less than it was before. So we're paying less for it, but it's now worth less, and all of a sudden prices are going up. And not only that, it's not just the sledgehammers that went up, because the sledgehammer guy, he's buying more metal and he's buying more wood for the handles and the metal for the heads. So metal starts going up, wood starts going up, everything starts going up. Groceries start going up because of all this extra work and all this extra demand. And you know what? Wages don't go up right away. They'll go up eventually, but not right away. So now you and me, John Q. Public, are having to pay more for the same stuff on our same wages. Some people will borrow money so that they can keep buying stuff and keep up at the level that they're used to. Now, what happens then? That's more demand. More demand, prices still keep going up. Got to borrow more to do more to get less. Inflation. But you know, only some of the people are going to borrow money to keep up. Most people are going to pull back. They can pay a little more for a little while, but after a while, they're going to have to pull back. And you know, all those guys that had rocks in the backyard, pretty soon they don't want to pay the new higher prices. And they start looking at it and say, you know, a rock in my backyard is not that big a deal. I need to pay for my roof. I need to pay for my food. I am not going to get a rock broken. So now what's happening to me, what's happening to Steve, our customer base is drying up. Plus there was only so many rocks to begin with, and we've oversaturated the market. So now he and I don't have enough customers to pay the interest that Bob is charging. I'm going to default on my loan. Steve is going to default on his loan. I'm going bankrupt. Steve is going bankrupt. And you know what? Bob's going bankrupt too. Borrowing money is like buying seeds. If the seeds cost too much, you're not going to plant a field. If the seeds cost too little and you overplant, it gets out of control. You want it to be just right so that you have a nice, lavish garden. So it's very important. Whoever sets interest rates is calm, conservative, and does not have any skin in the game, has no personal interest in whether the interest rates are high or low. So how does that relate to what we're doing now? Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, has been holding interest rates steady for the last several months because the economy is in weird flux. Why is it in weird flux? Well, somebody has upset the economy, not naturally, but deliberately. In a normal economy, when job growth goes down, they're going to cut interest rates because prices and everything have also gone down. And you can afford to cut the interest rates a little bit to spur confidence to get things going. But what's going on right now? Prices are going up while job growth is going down. Why? Because there's an artificial thumb on the scale. Trump, with all of his tariffs, have made prices go up and has artificially caused inflation. Prices are artificially going up for no good reason while job growth is going down. So the Fed is in a pickle because if he lowers interest rates, prices will go even higher and things will spiral out of control much faster. So we're in a pickle, and it's not a pickle of our making. And as you may know, Trump is leaning on Powell to cut interest rates, not by 0.25%, which is normal, not by 0.5%, which is aggressive. He was originally saying one percentage point. Now he's saying he wants it to go down 3 percentage points. That is a freaking atomic fire that is going to spin the economy way out of control. Who would benefit from a sudden drastic drop in interest rates? Well, a real estate mogul would, because a real estate mogul would go and borrow money at this fire sale, go buy some land for golf courses and hotels. And when the inflation hits, it doesn't matter because he is covered with assets and he doesn't care about the inflation. It can go, it can come, whatever. If he wants, he can sell that property for an inflated price because inflation went nuts, or he can keep it and now he has a business and everyone else has to pay his new higher rates. So an unscrupulous person who wants to monkey with the economy can push interest rates down, take advantage of that by borrowing money himself, buying property himself. He can make a fortune off of our misfortune. So that's interest. That's how interest can be monkeyed around with. Let's move on to debt. And for that, I'm going to go to my office because the garage is really hot. Okay, we're back inside. We can feel the air conditioning now, but we can also hear it from time to time. First world problems. It's tough in the first world. Anyway, we are now going to talk about the ring of debt. Debt. Debt is not a terrible thing. Like we said, it takes a little debt to get things going. You borrow some money, you have some debt, but the economy keeps going. A little debt is good. It's all right for people to have some debt. However, you can let it get out of control, which is what most Americans are doing now, and definitely what the country is doing now. What is the current debt of the United States? As you probably know, it is $36 trillion. $36 trillion. A number so large that mortal people just can't conceive of that number. So let me try to illustrate it. This is Walter White's pile of money in Breaking Bad. It's supposed to be $88 million. We're going to call it $100 million just to make the math a little easier. So let's say that's $100 million. To make that $1 billion, you would need 10 piles of that money. To make it $1 trillion, you would need 10,000 times that much money. To make it 36 trillion, you would need 360,000 times more piles of that money to make it 36 trillion. That's really not helping the imagery, is it? Still can't conceive of that. Okay, let's break it down to you and me kind of money. If we take 1981 as an example, the US government brought in $469 billion in revenue. However, we spent $542 billion. That is a 13% shortfall, or $74 billion that we were short that year. Still really big numbers, so let's make it to a you and me number. Let's take $469 million and let's say it's $75,000. You earned $75,000 in 1981. That's doing pretty good. But you spent $86,206 that year. A 13% shortfall, which means that you're $11,203 short that year. That's a pretty decent shortfall. But you know, it's not your fault. It doesn't all count. That's what Americans say a lot. It doesn't count. Why doesn't it count? Well, we had that big house repair this year. You know, the air conditioner went out. And my car broke down. I had to pay for that. And the dogs needed shots. And of course, the allergy medicine and stuff like that. Those things happen. They don't count. Yes, they do. That is part of your budget. You can't say that these surprises don't count. One, because they're not really surprises. Has there ever been a year when your house didn't need something, your car didn't need something, and the dogs didn't need something? That is predictable. So you can't say it doesn't count. This is your pile of money, and anything that takes money out of that pile of money counts. So you have to budget for it, but we don't, do we? Whoa, no, we don't. And not only that, this is not the first year you did it. 1981 was not the first year of our country or the first year of our deficit. In 1981 was the last year that we were below $1 trillion in debt. 1981's debt was $998 billion. To equate that to us, if we had done it ourselves at $75,000 a year, that would be the same as if our debt was $157,000. More than twice what we brought in is our current debt, $157,000. But that's 1981. It's not 1981, is it? No. So what happened this year? Currently, as of February, the tax revenue was $5.1 trillion. $5.1 trillion. You know, we should be able to buy some stuff for $5.1 trillion. But apparently we can't buy enough stuff because we spent $7 trillion in the last fiscal year, which is a 27% shortfall. More than twice what our shortfall was in 81. So that 27% shortfall comes to $1.9 trillion we were short this year. How does that equate to you and me level money? $75,000 a year instead of $5.1 trillion. That means we spent $102,000. Our shortfall is over $27,000 for the year. And our accumulated debt for the US, of course, is $36.218 trillion. If that was you and me, that would be $535,000. $535,000. $535,000. And we're only bringing in $75,000 a year. How do we keep body and soul together? How do we keep the lights on? How do we keep a roof over our head? The government and we do it pretty much the same way. We borrow, we finance, and we have credit. So how does credit apply to all of this? Well, it goes like this. As long as we keep making minimum payments on all of these debts, we still maintain our credit rating. Your friends, family, and banks will keep lending you money as long as you keep making the payments and as long as you show them that you have a plan. Sure, I'm this much in debt, but here's my spreadsheet. Here are the costs that I've cut. Here's my other revenue streams. Here's my plan. I'm in debt now, but I'm getting out of debt. It's all good. Everyone's going to get their money back. Have I ever failed you before? And so the money keeps coming. And we have loans here, we have loans there. Eventually, what do? We've taken a loan out to pay the other loans. We take the big loan and we pay the Visa, we pay the Amex, we pay the Discover. And then of course, we also use that loan to pay for itself. We have to make payments on that loan, and we use the money we got from that loan to make the payments on that loan. So we're borrowing money to cover our money borrowed. That is obviously unsustainable because we've also not done anything about our budget and we're still having a deficit every year. So we're paying all these debts and making the debt bigger on every single front. Eventually, lenders are going to start becoming more reluctant to lend money because they're going to look at that big debt and they understand that the first people that lent us money back in 81, they have made their money back and they're making a profit at it. However, someone lending us the money now, the odds aren't as good for them that we're going to be able to keep these plates spinning for that long, for them to make a profit on it. So they're going to go back to the interest ring and raise interest rates because they don't want to stop lending us money yet. They're not that skittish, but they're getting skittish. They're going to raise the interest rates just to be sure. That's when cash flow starts to falter because at some point, we're going to have a late payment. At some point, we're going to miss a payment. And then when that happens, the cash flow stops and the rug is pulled out from everybody. Now, the government doesn't have a credit card. They don't have a Visa. They use bonds. What are bonds? Bonds are very much like Wimpy here.
I'd gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Bonds are sold to individuals and countries and banks and huge financial institutions so that the government can borrow money, pay off its other debts, and of course, accumulate more debt. But they pay an interest to those bondholders. And it's really, they call it selling bonds, but it's really not selling bonds, it's buying money. If you give me this much money now, I'll give you this much more money later. What makes bonds attractive for the government is that the terms are usually very long, sometimes 20, 30 years before we have to pay back the principal. So for those 20 or 30 years, we're making very small payments. For instance, a treasury bond right now yields around 4.5%. What they do with that is, let's say you bought a $1,000 bond for 30 years. Every 6 months, they will give you half of the percentage you're due. So at 4%, that's $40. Every 6 months, you'll get $20 from the government for that $1,000 they borrowed. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but at the end of the term, you have collected $1,200 in interest, and then you get your $1,000 back. So you've made some money. Not a lot, but it was steady and it was safe. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but let's say you were a big finance company or a big country and you bought $1 billion bond from us. Every 6 months, you would be getting a $20 million check from us. Okay, that's not chump change, and your $1 billion is safe. That is your rainy day fund. That money can sit over there. You can get at it one day when you need it, but right now you're getting $20 million every 6 months, and maybe you can live off the interest, which is what retirees do a lot. Retirees who have saved up a good chunk of money, put it into a bond, and every 6 months they get half of that 4% back. It's not fast, but it's better than leaving it in a mattress and you're not eating out the principal. So that's why the countries would do it, because it's not eating their principal and they're getting some money out of it. So in the beginning, that's what we did. We sold the bonds, we used the money to pay off the shortfalls, and then we went on our merry way paying all the other bills. Unfortunately, we did not economize. So every year, as we showed, we were still in a deficit. Every year, we still spent more than we brought in, and we had the debt from before, so we're paying on that debt. We were short this year, so we have to sell more bonds to cover that deficit and to cover the previous loans that we took. So every year, we're taking loans to pay for the loans, and then we take more loans to pay for those loans, which pay for those loans. And if you think that sounds like a Ponzi scheme, there's a reason for that. It is a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, we're going to run out of people to borrow money from, or eventually they're just going to run out of money, or they're going to go do something else. Why do people and countries keep buying our bonds and lending us money? Well, because the United States is the absolutely positivelyest, safest investment in the world. The United States has never defaulted on a loan. But yeah, it has happened 3 times, but we don't talk about that. Shh. Because confidence, we need the confidence. So just like with us individually, we were showing everyone the spreadsheet of what we were doing to get out of debt. Here are the things we're cutting. Here's the things we're doing. And we've set this debt ceiling, so we're not going to go above that while we do this. And we're working on it. As long as people are convinced we're working on it, it's okay. Well, in 2011, the S&P cut our credit rating from AAA, the top level AAA, to AA+. Not a big drop, but a drop. Why did they drop it? Because we showed our financial immaturity. We were facing a huge default. We had run out of money. We had hit the debt ceiling. We were out of money. So the Democrats and the Republicans, instead of working to solve the deficit issue, used the threat of default to play chicken with each other, to make the other ones give up more political stuff that the other one wanted. Instead of working on that problem, they faced each other off and said, if you don't give me what I want, I'm not going to vote for a bigger debt ceiling. If you don't give me what I want, we're not going to get a bigger debt. If I want a bridge, I want more food stamps, I want this, I want that. We need something for the trees, we need something for the military. Unless someone blinks, we're going to default. So that's what they did. They politicized it, they moved it back and forth, and they fought over crap and not for the loan. And the S&P looked at that and said, these idiots are going to default because they're screwing around fighting over stupid stuff. So they brought our credit rating down to AA+. Then in 2023, the Fitch rating service also brought us down to AA+. Why did they do it? For the exact same damn reason. We had a default coming, and the Congress decided to fight with each other and play chicken with each other to get political gain instead of fixing the loan problem. And Fitch looked at that and said, you jerks. So they lowered our rating. So now it's 2025 and we pass the big beautiful bill. The big beautiful bill. One of the things the big beautiful bill said is, remember when we were talking about that spreadsheet where we were telling everybody what we're doing to save the debt and work on that? The big beautiful bill says, we don't care. We're not going to try. We're going to raise the debt. Originally, they tried to erase the debt ceiling so that there was no budget ceiling. We'll just spend all we want. But they couldn't get enough votes for that, so they just raised the debt ceiling $5 trillion more. And they cut revenue by giving the rich tax breaks. Actually, they extended tax breaks for everyone, but the rich got a much bigger tax break. Just that alone is adding $1 trillion to the debt, that cut. But on top of that, they've increased spending. So they cut revenue, increased spending, and increased the debt ceiling, and came right out and said, we aren't trying. We don't care. We're the U.S. and our debt is beautiful and you just have to live with it. We don't care. We're the big cat in the alley. We're us. You're still going to lend us all the money we ask for because we're too big to fail. Heard that one before, 08. Well, this debt stuff has been going on for decades now. These bonds come due, we have to pay them off. Sometimes the people just roll it over, thank God, but sometimes they want to cash out and we have to sell more bonds to cover those bonds, to cover more debts, and blah, blah, blah. Of the foreign countries, China and Japan own the most of our bonds. They are by far the leaders in lending money to us. In one respect, that's good because our money becomes intertwined, and China's financial success kind of depends on our financial success. However, China and Japan are not infinite in their money. They have bills too, so they can only spend so much covering our debt. And other countries can only spend so much covering our debt. They have things going on. And now with our credit rating being dropped, other countries start to wonder, is that the safest place to invest our money? Whenever there's a slowdown in bond buying, from time to time, we have to make a deal. Even though interest rates are set here, if no one's going to buy our bonds, we can't default. So we'll make a deal. We'll make the interest rates even more attractive, or we'll do them a favor. So yeah, we're on the hook for stuff. So picture this. Remember the $75,000 a year salary with the over $500,000 in debt? He always paid on the debt. He always made the minimum payments. He always kept all that up. So the credit rating was okay. But then 3 credit bureaus downgraded him. Now he comes to you for money. Hey, can you lend me $1,000? Can you lend me $10,000? And you got to think about this. Are you willing to put your retirement nest egg? Are you willing to bet your kids' college fund on this person who is this much in debt, and now 3 credit bureaus have lowered his credit rating, and he has come right out and said, I have no intention of taking care of this debt. I have no intention of being responsible with my money. So lend me your college fund, lend me your retirement nest egg. It'll be fine. What could possibly go wrong? Well, as an individual, you start looking around for other investments because there are 11 other guys in town that still have a AAA rating and who seem to be responsible with their money. Maybe that's where I want to put my nest egg. Now, this is not a coordinated effort. I am not calling up my neighbors and we're all saying, hey, let's stop lending money to this chump. Let's all send our money elsewhere. No, we're making individual decisions. This is my nest egg and I'm going to put it where I'm confident nothing's going to happen to it. I'm just one guy, not a big deal. I'm going to move my money over. But other people are going to be more confident sending their money and their nest egg to someone that has a AAA rating. And like I said, there's 11 other guys that have the AAA rating. They're perfectly safe. And as that starts to happen, the cash flow falters and eventually the cash flow stops. And that's when things get really interesting. chances are no country is deliberately going to crush our economy. As any loan shark will tell you, you can't get money from a corpse. However, they might break your knees once in a while. So as a country, we should probably expect to get our knees broken once in a while, or have to do really stupid favors, or have to stand back while another country is being bombed to death. On the other hand, a country may pull the rug out from under us unintentionally, accidentally. If they have a flood or an earthquake, tsunami, they go to war, they're going to need their nest egg back, and they're going to cash out those bonds, and they're not going to buy any more. That is going to hurt. And it's going to happen. Just like the House budget. When has there not been a flood, a fire, a war, a catastrophe that someone needed a bunch of money quick? Eventually the music's going to stop. So that's it. We've got our 3 rings with the ring of confidence, and we are in trouble. The big beautiful bill makes it perfectly clear that we have no intention of being responsible with our money. And that is going to erode confidence. Other countries are going to go somewhere else for their financial needs. And with all the tariffs that are going on, countries are already looking elsewhere for their trade. Countries that used to sell stuff to us are finding out that they can sell it to Canada. Canada sold stuff to us, but they can sell it to Europe. Well, I can sell this stuff to Europe and I can buy this stuff from Europe. The US is starting to be cut out of the loop. Little by little, it's going to happen. EU is going to become a superpower like they meant to, and Trump is going to get his wish of isolationism. We will become isolated and our trade will dry up. When our trade dries up, all our money is just coming from within, and we don't have any money within. So that's it. That's what's going on. That's my concern. Yes, this was an obscenely long video. No, I understand that nobody's watching right now, but same as always, I have to say something. So write your congressman, go to the town hall meetings, yell at these people, make them uncomfortable, let them know that you understand what they're doing. And go to the protest, make some noise. We have 477 days as of this recording to get to the midterms and do something about it. Get some Republicans in there that are more tied to the Constitution than to the party and not sycophant. Get some Democrats in there. If we can't get the Republicans, and I'd rather there be Republicans, but get some center-leaning Democrats, get some center-leaning Republicans, get them in there to fix this country, to retake Congress, and hopefully save this joint. Surprisingly, that's all I got for now. Take care, good luck, and I promise that all the videos coming after this will be shorter. Although I'm making a promise to nobody because nobody's watching. I understand, I get it, whatever. See ya, bye.